Why has the use of fiscal policy declined? It cannot decline. It is either deliberately or inadvertently having an effect, either encouraging growth or not doing so. It cannot decline. Do you mean, why has monetary policy been the dominant concern? Or perhaps, why has discussion of fiscal policy declined? Or perhaps, why is no one speaking about the need for fiscal policy as part of a solution to current issues? I will answer the second and third questions. If everything in the economy is in a normal range but simply not optimal, people would legitimately debate if it is bad enough to use fiscal policy given that monetary policy is effective, or they could say, monetary policy reached its limits last December because rates are already the lowest in decades and fiscal policy of $500 billion could boost the economy. Then, you have the current moment and businesses are bankrupting, people are skipping rent and will be in free food lines all month. We have given $3 trillion and are going to do another $5 trillion, a combined amount which is 9 times the large fiscal policy contemplated in December. But, no one is calling it fiscal policy. It is because we are doing what is right to help people and to react to a crisis and to save the system. You can call it any of these things or all of these things. You would not call it fiscal policy despite the fact that it is. To call it that makes it sound like you do not care if the system breaks, if people starve or if employers shutter their doors. Back in the pre-computer days you could be an economist and say almost anything, demonstrate it with some graphics that you'd put together from data you'd sourced, and claim almost any relationship you cared. Some would argue for your conclusions, some against, but no one could ever definitely demonstrate them. There are no immutable, demonstrable, laws, in economics like there are in physics, for example, hence the term, physics envy, describing economists, or electronics my trade, chemistry, and so on. Large systems tend to have numerous influences, some predictable, some not, some influential sometimes, but not at others. Trying to implement fiscal policy is a lot like herding cats by committee. We need the noblest of intentions proffered by the experts in the field even when we expect them to not always be right to counter the ignorance of the masses armed with little more than common sense, which is neither. In the US we have the insane running the asylum, lamentable, but not entirely unpredictable, doing what's been tried before and seen to fail, hoping that somehow, this time, the outcome will be different. The Fed, as usual, is left to try to pick up the pieces of the mess made by ill-advised lack of leadership, not for the first time, and surely not for the last. Populists are antithetic to adult leadership, by definition since the rabble they're leading are hardly the intellectuals of their era. Fiscal policy is an active attempt to influence the economy through changes in government spending and taxes. The reality is that our government just spends like crazy no matter what. They would hardly even consider cuts in spending to fight inflation. They are happy to throw in a stimulus package now and then, but just plain growth of government is their priority. They hardly need to use the econo. Why as an excuse?